Hi guys, welcome back to Trotec training, and today I want to talk a little bit about setting your page sizes up properly in Corel and making sure that they go over properly. A common problem that I see from people that are coming from other laser manufacturers or even people who don't have lasers or haven't had them before is they send jobs over and the jobs tend to get all jammed up or tweaked or they seem to get stretched or crunched, or they don't seem to be all the way on the table when you go in job control, and it really seems to cause people a lot of problems. And I'm going to try to explain that a little bit and see if I can clear up a few things. And like always, the things that I'm talking about and showing you are things I've learned on my own or through conversations with other people that had the knowledge. So I could be teaching you totally wrong, and Trotec could disagree with it. And that's kind of going to be the case through everything I show you. So I'm showing you what works for me and what I found works for me. And if Trotec comes along and says that's not right, then let me know, and we'll get the site updated and get that corrected. But we're going to go in job control, and I'm going to click on this little thing right here, the little wrench on a piece of paper, and it may not be there. You may have the gears may be showing up there, but if you click on that drop down and click on the little wrench, it's going to show you the size. That's the maximum engraving size of my machine or your machine. So it's 28.72 by 17.071. And that's an important number to know because that's the max size that you can engrave. So if you send a job over that's 29 inches wide or 18 inches tall, then it's going to clip it. It's either going to clip it or it's going to say it won't fit on the plate, and you'll get that error when you try to drag and drop it over. It'll look like it goes over okay, but when you try to pull it from the job queue onto the plate, it's going to tell you it won't fit. So everything you do has to be smaller than this. And so we're going to go over to Corel, and we're going to start a new document. And you're going to notice that right here I've got my width and height of the page set to the same thing as my table. So when I start a new document, this page size here, which is indicated up here, is actually the physical size of what I can engrave. So if I wanted to do artwork or text or anything else over here, we could certainly do that and send it right on over. If we go to print it, so you can see right here the page size that I have set here is actually a little bit different. I should have that changed to 17.071. So if we send that job over, then it's going to send this whole page over right here, the entire page, with this object placed right where it's placed. So if we go into job control, and the job comes over, we can drag it over onto the plate, or we can double click it. See, this is the problem that you're going to run into, and this is exactly what I wanted to show you. It says right now it can't put any more jobs on this plate. So essentially what it's telling you is this job is too big. It won't fit onto the machine. So it's saying the size that you've drawn is too big, so it's not going to fit on there. And that is, I think it's a bug, and I don't know why it's there. Maybe it's there for some other reason. But if you go in and you change this number by 1/1000th of an inch, then it tends to go over. So making that just a little bit smaller, just by 1/1000ths or 10/1000ths, 20/1000ths or whatever you want to do, can solve that problem. But I can promise you, if you're running the Trotec, you're going to see this error message at some point in your travels, and just know that usually when that's telling you it won't fit, it's because the job you've sent over is too big for the actual machine. And it can be a little mathematical thing in there where it's just a little bit off, and you can normally fix that by just changing that number by just a little bit. So when you send it over this time, and we'll see if this 1/1000th makes a difference. It may need to come off of this right here. I'm not sure which one's causing it, but we'll see which one solves it, and hopefully it'll be this one and make the video shorter. Yep, so now the job went over. If we click on the eyeball up here, then you can see that it looks just like Corel. And you can see these little marks down here, and they indicate the size of the file or the graphic that's sent over. So essentially you have a great big giant graphic, but you really only have one little object here. And the Trotec doesn't really like that. We send it over that way for some jobs. Some jobs it matters, and some jobs it doesn't matter. So I'm going to tell you what we do, or show you what we do, and that, it may help you understand what's going on or how we get around all this, or it may not be something that you want to do at all. The vast majority of the material that we get in when you're dealing with engraving plastics is 24 inches. And we've set a page size in Corel of 24 inches by 17 inches. So when we have jobs that we want to send over, then we tend to send it at 24 by 17 for quite a bit of stuff. If you wanted to make that 24 by 12 because you do engraving plastic, or you have a smaller machine, maybe your machine's not quite that big, then you can certainly do that. So what that's going to get you when you send the job over there is, we should be able to see it. You can see where the edge of the job is now. And we send jobs like that quite a bit, and it's more normally done for jobs that are quick, or jobs that we just got one thing to run, or doesn't have a lot of artwork on there, because there's things when you send it like this that happen that may not be real desirable in the long run, and we'll go over some of those things later on. But I just want you to start to understand a little bit about that plate size and how that's working, and how it correlates to the size in Corel. So if we did go back and make that bigger, and we put some text on there, and let's say alright, so let's say we've got some text here, and I'm going to stretch it a little bit further out, and it's stretching funny for some reason. I'm using a Mac and doing this through Parallel, so things don't always happen like they should. Okay, So right now we see that the page size is 28.72. So let's send that over, and let's leave this page size at 24, because this is what I want you to see what it's going to do this job. So you can see that it's clipped that job. So we had a great big graphic, but when we sent it over, we told it that the maximum size was 24 inches. And this is a super common problem with people just getting started, and people having problems with, hey, my text is clipping, or, it cut off some of my text and I don't understand why. Or, if it wasn't text and it was, a bunch of vector shapes, people will say it's clipping or it's cutting off or dropping parts of my shape and I don't understand why. And it's doing that because the page sizes don't match. So if you pay attention to those page sizes, and you kind of have to get fanatical about them, because if you don't, then you'll end up with a lot of problems, and it'll just chase you. You'll chase it all over the place. So let's go to a 24-inch table, and let's see what happens when we do it the other way. So let's tell it we have a 28.72. So what I want you to notice is, look at the placement here. On this 24-inch page here, it's pretty close to being in the center. But now when you go over to job control, it's not. So it's not because it's a mismatch in the page size in Corel and the page size that you told it when you sent it over. And that, again, you'll see this manifest itself when you send the job over and it's not in the right place. So when you see a job and it's shifted over by, a radical amount or even a little amount, if you had some page size set and it was only slightly different than what you sent it over, for instance, if you had a page size variance of only a half of an inch, then you may only see a little bit of a shift here. So that's what's causing that. So this number right here, when you send it over to job control, it has to match this right here. If it doesn't match it, you're going to be chasing your tail. So just pay attention to that. That one will get you every time. And so how the machine works and how the machine sees this, assuming that we send it over correctly, is when you hit the start button on the laser, it starts scanning. It scans all the way across, back and forth, line by line. If you watch the laser run, or when you hit start, you'll see scan lines coming down, and the laser will start engraving when it hits your first point that needs to be engraved. So what it will do, though, is it's going to continue to scan all the way down the sheet, because it thinks that this is full of graphics, and it doesn't know that it's not, because you've already told it that it's a 17-inch tall job. So normally that doesn't really matter. In a case like this right here, it really wouldn't matter. So I would have no problem sending this job over just like this, and be done with it. But what can happen is, if you start to have a real high DPI, you send it over at 600 or 1200, or I'm sorry, 1000 DPI, you can start to see it takes a long time to scan. And sometimes if you have vector cutting on here, by the time it finishes engraving, it hasn't finished scanning all the way down the page. So the machine will just sit there until it finishes scanning that color all the way down. And then it'll go to the next color and it'll start scanning for that. So you really need to see the machine run to see that happen. And I'm not hooked up to the machine here. so I can't really show you that happening from this video. But so the way you can fix that, it's pretty simple. So if this was a, say, a 4-inch tall job, then you could set it up like that. So we have a 24-inch by 4-inch page size, and when we send it over, we're going to put 24 inches by 4 inches in here, and we're going to send it over like that. And that's going to send a much smaller job over, so when it starts going through the scan, it's not, you can see the edge of the job is indicated here. So if it does go through that scan, it's going to stop right here, so it won't take very long. And that's a really good way to do it, and it's a good way to do it for a lot of reasons, which we'll get into in other videos for sure. But for right now, I just kind of want you to get the feel of how these page sizes work and how you need to get the jobs over there properly, and some of the errors that you'll see. And there's another option in here when you send it over, and right now we've got 24 by 4, so we can make that, leave that right where it's at. But if you say minimize to job size, what that's going to do, and I'm going to back out of this, what that's going to do is it's going to make the job size, sorry about that, it's going to make the job size right about that big. So it's only going to send that particular amount of graphic information over there, and you'll see that when we send it over. So we'll say minimize to job, and then we're going to tell it to print. And when we do, you can see in the preview that it's only the text. So if we drag that over, you can see it's just the text. And that's a really handy thing, and if you get to using that, you'll like it. We use that a whole lot. It's probably something that we use more than anything else, but we kind of use combinations of everything because we see a wide variety of things. Sometimes we see, a one-piece job and it's not a repeat, and sometimes we'll see, a 20 or 30,000 piece job and everything in between. So each job you need to kind of look at and decide, does it matter? And sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. And if I had something that I wanted to line up, then I probably would be using this, especially if it was shapes. It tends to work pretty good. But we use minimize to job size a lot, and there's things you can do. Like you can pull the rulers over here, and if you knew that you wanted to make it, start at 2 inches by 2 inches, you can double click on that and you can make that ruler at 2 inches. Double click on that, make that ruler at 2 inches. And then notice the edge of the job is the top of the text. So if you want to slide it up, it'll snap to that point. So now I know the edge of that text is going to start at 2 inches by 2 inches. And just like it's there, if I knew what the center, if I wanted to engrave from the center, then I can actually snap it and it'll snap to the center as well. So again, I can't show you the actual laser indicator here, but if you could see the head, this is how you would use the red dot. You'd bring the red dot over to the point where you wanted your engraving to start, whether that's the center or the top left or right, whichever. And then you could actually you wouldn't need these rulers here. You could actually snap to the pointer. I can't show you that, but if you go in there and try it, you'll see that works. So that's just a few things to watch out for and to be aware of. And if you want to set up things, you can set up things in your favorite list, and you can set, if you do 12 by 24 material a lot, you can set that up, or if you have other size materials that are real common for you, you can set them up as a favorite, and then when you pull a job up, you can just double click on that, and it'll actually load all the see 24 by 12, and it'll pull in the materials and everything for you. So just get familiar with changing this a lot. It's not something that stays the same all the time, and it just needs to match. So I hope that helps explain it a little bit and solve a little bit of the mystery of why jobs move around or don't come in the right places. If I hope this helps somebody out there. I know it was very confusing to me when I first started and caused me a lot of headaches, and it took me a while to get a handle on it. So hopefully this will save you some of that headache and get you up and running quicker and help you solve some problems, especially those error messages when it's telling you the job won't fit on the plate. Watch out for that. And I hope you will stay tuned, and we'll have some more videos up soon. And if you have something that you want me to demonstrate, then just shoot me an email or leave a comment, and we'll try to get to that.